Hey everyone, welcome back with a new lecture with ISO 9001 2015 edition and with subclause number 85, production and service provision. The organization shall provide production and service provision under controlled conditions to ensure that the product or service provided or delivered to the customer meet the inputs or initial requirements. So, first point, control of production and service provision. The organization shall implement production and service provision under controlled conditions to ensure that the product or service delivered is compliant with the initial requirements. So, the output at the end met the input requirements. And these controlled conditions shall include, as applicable, documented informations. Documented informations are very important and mandatory for each process in the organization or in every project. Documented informations for characteristics of the product or service or activities to be performed, special features for that product or service provided, and all requirements related to this product or service provided. So based on these requirements and based on these special features, you will have the output, which is the result. Results to be achieved also shall be documented to ensure traceability for the product from the beginning, from initial requirements to the final stage. And from these controlled conditions, availability and use of suitable monitoring and measuring resources. And that's very important and explained before in clause number 7.1 in support resources. All resources required for the product or service to be provided or to be delivered shall be available, and also resources for monitoring and measuring the performance of each stage, and for monitoring the equipments used and everything for each stage shall be provided. All resources required for the product or service to be provided, and resources required to monitor the whole processes or project and to measure the performance for each stage shall be provided. Controlled conditions also shall include monitoring the activities at appropriate stages to ensure that the acceptance criteria are met, and that has been explained before in design and in development and also in different clauses, to have monitoring for all activities but at appropriate stages. And the use of suitable infrastructure and environment, it's very important. Environment should be suitable for operation of all processes, and infrastructure and all equipments used should be fit for purpose, and that has been explained before in clause number 8.1, operation. And what competence and qualifications do your people need when creating product and service? Very important. The competence of persons inside the organization, very important. That has been explained before in 7.2, competence. And validation and periodic validation of the ability to achieve planned results, the objectives, where the resulting output or the final result cannot be verified by subsequent measuring, and that relating to special processes such as painting. For painting, this will be your service, the final service. When you will finish painting, you cannot verify that by subsequent measuring, so you need to monitor that, need to be monitored through validation and periodic validation until finish the painting at the end, to ensure that the final stage or the final service or the output will be as required. Also, we have actions to prevent human errors. This is very important, and as explained before in planning, clause number 8.1, planning actions to address risks and opportunities. Also, actions to prevent any human error during all processes shall be recorded also in risk register form, and how to eliminate or reduce this risk. Release, delivery and post-delivery activities. This is a very important point. Acceptance criteria. There should be acceptance criteria, as I mentioned before, for releasing the product or service to the customer, and also who is authorized to do this activity. Do you have also, after that, after delivery of the product or service, do you have any responsibility for the product or service after delivery? Do you need to make follow-up for the product or service after you deliver that to the customer? And that will be explained in details in clause number 855, post-delivery activities such as maintenance service, or if your product has a warranty, so after that you should follow up, and maintenance service, and also recycling service. That will be explained in this subclause. And very important subclause, identification and traceability. How to trace the product or service to ensure that output meet the inputs requirements. So organization shall use suitable means to identify outputs when it's necessary to ensure the conformity of product or service, to ensure the conformity of product or service. So not all service or products require identification and traceability, but when it's necessary to ensure the conformity of product or service, in this case you shall identify the product or service with a specific label. As example, you can label that product with a unique serial number, and this serial number shall be traced. You shall have the same serial number for all documented information related to this serial number, so that will enable traceability for this product, and you will ensure the conformity of product or service to the inputs requirements. And also organization shall identify the status of product or service with respect to monitoring and measuring requirements throughout production and service provision. As example, if that product is in glass and will be broken, so you will identify that on the label that will be broken, or take care from this product, and to identify the status of the outputs. Organization shall control the unique identification with a unique serial number of the outputs when traceability is a requirement, and shall retain documented information necessary for traceability. As I said before, every product shall be identified with a unique serial number, and you will record the same serial number in all documented informations related to this product or service, so that will enable traceability and to ensure the conformity of product or service. Identification is very important to prevent mixing between the products, and also to identify or to enable the traceability of product or service. And the third point, if you use property belonging to the customer or external provider. If you use property belonging to the customer to perform a specific process relating to his product or service, or if you will provide him with a specific service on site such as painting, this property shall be under your control. Also, if you have a subcontract with an external provider to perform a specific process for you, this will be on his property, and that also shall be under your organization control, as explained before in clause number 8.4, control of externally provided product, services, and processes. So in case when the organization uses a property belonging to the customer or an external provider, they shall identify, verify, protect, and safeguard the property. It shall be under the organization control. They shall protect and safeguard that property, and also they shall verify if this property is valid or invalid for the process or the work need to be done. And when the property is lost or damaged or found to be unsuitable for use, you shall report that to the customer or external provider. So the organization shall report to the customer or external provider and retain documented information with the reason why this property is invalid. And in this case, you can make a procedure. The report also you will do, and procedure to identify controls. At the beginning, you will identify all controls required, in this case, to control that property, and also actions taken in case of invalid property that you will report to the customer or external provider, and that can be added to the procedures that I have mentioned before, procedure for production and service provision. And after that we have preservation. Preservation is a very important work, and the organization shall preserve the outputs to ensure the conformity to requirements, to ensure that outputs will meet the inputs requirements. So organization shall preserve the outputs during production and service provision to ensure conformity to requirements. And the preservation can include identification. Identification, as I explained before, is very important to identify each product with a specific label with a unique serial number, so you will prevent mixing between products, and also during handling you will prevent mixing between products. Contamination control. Preservation can include also contamination control. You should control the contamination between products and packaging, storage, transportation, and protection. All of them included in preservation to ensure that product will deliver to the customer as you have in the organization. So outputs will meet the customer requirement. And post-delivery activities. What you will do for your product or service after delivery. Do you need, I just started with some questions which I bought from some guidelines. Do you need to provide service for your product or service after delivery? Do you need to do this? Do you need to follow up on a product after a period of time, after several months, to ensure that your product is still functioning properly? Do you need to ensure proper recycle or disposal of your product after expiration? Some, as I explained here, as I write here, some products after use, like cans or these things, after use you can make recycling for these products and reuse again. So sometimes you need to monitor the product or service provided to customers after delivery. And in these cases, the organization shall consider the following points: customer feedback and customer requirement, and also statutory and regulatory requirements, potential undesired consequences associated with its product or service, nature, use, and lifetime of its product. And can include post-delivery activities, can include the following points: actions under warranty provisions. If you will sell specific products such as mobiles or laptops and you have a warranty, so you should take care for this product after delivery, and if there is any problem they will come back to you. Maintenance, if there is maintenance service or recycling or disposal service, so all of these services provided to the customer after delivery. So this is post-delivery activities. And finally, in this sub-clause, and also this explained in different clauses before that, control of changes. If you have any changes during production and the service provision, you shall review these changes and ensure that these changes will not have an adverse effect on the conformity of product or service to the requirements. So changes shall be reviewed and controlled to ensure conformity to requirements and to ensure that these changes will not have an adverse impact on the product, on the conformity of product. Documented information also shall be retained. This documented information, such as change review record, is very important. Change review record. After you will make review for this change and to ensure that this change will not affect and it will improve the quality of the product or service. So in this case you will add this record, you will record this in change review record, and these changes shall be accepted also by the customer. Documented information shall be retained describing the review results and the person who is authorized to change, person also authorizing the changes, and also actions arising from the review. What actions will happen after you will make the change. That was the end of our lecture for today. Thank you and see you in the next lecture.